become an adept. And when you become an adept, that puts you in alignment to where you become a master. So with you being at the door, that means that you have speculation to where you can tap into the energy of self-realization. So when you have self-realization, you do your shadow work, that puts you in alignment to where you can start to seek knowledge. So just because you don't, you don't feel like some people don't even think they're a light worker or a chosen one because they don't have a platform, they don't have a voice. You know what I'm saying? Your purpose might just be subjected to fixing your family, fixing your bloodline, or just edifying the people around you. You know what I'm saying? Because the concept of a chosen one, people just think like, I was chosen to play basketball, I was chosen to be a rapper, I was chosen to sing, and I was these are all man-made purposes. Because at the end of the day, if this world shuts down, the energy grid shuts down, the people who are the truth tellers, you know what I'm saying, the people who spread the information, the people who's trying to bring a dietary system, people teaching agriculture, those are your real chosen ones, because they're actually bringing a certain natural vibration to the planet. So for you to say that you want to start as a light worker, you are a light worker because you already at the path of Nasu. You're already at the door. So you looking at yourself from an internal level, you know what I'm saying, where you can tap into self-realization. So you don't have to, think that you're not, because you don't have a platform and not famous and stuff like that. That's all BS. That's all, humanoid concepts that's created by mankind.
No, indeed. What would be a metaphysical definition of passion? Because one thing I see a lot in the videos that talks about light workers, and the light workers have to figure out what their passion is, and they have to live or fulfill their passion. So what would you say is like a metaphysical way to describe a passion, your passion?
Your passion. Okay, that was a great question. I ain't gonna lie.
Thank you.
Your passion is one of those things where when you tap into a certain energy, and that energy in itself is a tachyon energy, meaning that it connects you to the universe. When you tapped into passion, that puts you in a state of where you can manipulate timelines. Because when you manipulate timelines, you collapse time by mastering time. Because when your passion and your heart and your energy and vibration is into something, that's when you go through interstellar vortex portals, because you lost time. You lost time doing something that you actually love doing. When you know what I'm saying, when I love basketball, I play college basketball, and I used to be, man, I'm out here hooping. Let's get it. I didn't care about what time it was. You know what I'm saying? Right. It started at 12, and all of a sudden it's 5 o'clock. Because you collapse time when you tapped into your purpose.
No, indeed. That's real. That's a great way to put it. That's a great way to put it. It's like it's like your passion is like a multi-dimensional talent, man. It goes beyond this realm, man. It's some real shit, man. Oh man, let me get to I seen somebody ask something that I want to ask, because I know y'all got a lot of questions. We got an hour. I don't want to fill up the whole time by myself. Somebody asked, I don't see it now, but they said they were mixed race. Do they have a soul? They want to know, do they have a soul because they were mixed race? I don't see the question though, but somebody asked that.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
I don't really get into you come from this I don't do bloodline, blood types and stuff like that. But right. I agree that, you know what I'm saying, you can still be chosen or have a soul and be a light worker. Excuse me. You're a mixed person.
Indeed. Why do you think, BDELL, give me a second. Why do you think it appears so many spiritual people, light workers, focus more on helping other people instead of perfecting or being the best version of themselves? Seems like helping somebody else comes way before being the best version of themselves. Why is it that way, my brother?
It's kind of like it's an energy transfer. A lot of us, we get activation, like, with you following your purpose, like that gives you a certain energy. Like with me helping somebody, you know what I'm saying, whether they asking for money or if they asking for information or whatever, I'm glad I'm able to do that. You know what I'm saying? So to where, you know, it gives me energy knowing I can help somebody else. But, you know, sometimes that can subjugate you too, because you got some people who are energy vampires because they don't have a purpose, so they want to clean themselves to your energy. So it's kind of like the same concept as a car that has a dead battery, but they need you for the charge because they know that you have the power up, they know that you have the glow, they know that you have the God frequency to revitalize whatever they got going on. So whenever you revitalize those people, a lot of times they stray away, and then when things go wrong, they come right back to where they need to charge up again. So you know what I'm saying? So that's how you know you chosen, because you become a magnet of everything around you. You become a magnet to those who need healing. You become a magnet to those who need edification. You become a magnet for those who are seeking truth.
Indeed. Yeah, definitely. So we talked earlier, BDELL, about having a bright light. You know, chosen ones, your light is bright, you shine, and the aura is bright. And you know, you may entities may want to attack you for that, or you may experience high levels of energy vampires because of your light, and people feel your aura. My question to you: so there's this idea that light workers or star seeds or chosen ones need to protect themselves more than the average person because of this. My question to you is: do the light workers need more protection, or do they need more confidence in who they are? Because it appears that protection means that there's a bit of fear in you that you're going to be attacked, but confidence in a way represents a frequency of I'm already protected. I don't need protection because I'm already protected. So do you think it's one more than the other? What do you think about confidence versus protection in terms of being a light worker?
I think when you step into that role and you're confident enough, that's when you get the protectorate from the universe and the Most High. Because they had, you know, that energy in itself, when you tapped into your purpose, it has to be a protectorate because you came here, you was incarnated to bring a certain polarity. But now, you know, if you was like, man, I ain't got the confidence, I ain't doing that, man. That sounds silly. I ain't putting myself on camera talking about, people gonna think I'm crazy. Now you basically, you know what I'm saying, you deviated, you know what I'm saying, from having that protectorate, because now you just, you know, on autopilot, just like, you know, the great majority of the NPCs. You just subjected to that certain way of thinking. You just going along to get along instead of tapping into your purpose. So I agree. Like, once you tap into your purpose and you have the confidence to do so, I think that's when you get the protectorate from the Most High in the universe, because you got to cherish that person, because it's like, you know what I'm saying, you become a commodity to, you know, to fix certain things on this planet.
No, indeed. Wow. Let's I saved okay, question somebody want to know, BDELL, when Ghostwriter wants to know, when does the soul enter the fetus? I've heard different things about this. So
due to my independent research, I think it said that the soul, it takes like 19 days. 19 days before the soul is able to enter the body or enter a fetus or a baby. So 19 is a very prevalent number. It's an esoteric number, because you got, when you go to the Holy Quran, 19, Ilihun is in the Holy Quran 19 times. And 19 is basically the fifth dimension, which is the 19th galaxy of Sirius or Planet Risk or whatever you want to call it. It's different names, different titles or whatever. But it's 19 days.
Do light workers you know how certain places on earth is known for producing certain metals? So Africa is known for producing gold and things of that nature. America is known for producing certain things. Asia, you get certain crops, metals, things, depending on which places you go. Do light workers come from a particular place in the universe? Like the universe knows, okay, the light workers is coming from over there. That's where all the light workers come from. Is that how it works, BDELL?
I agree, man. I'm glad you brought that up, because I think the archons who control this fixed position reality, they control everything because they know that our gematria body is connected to this grid system. So they place a lot of us on certain areas of the planet, on certain geographical landmasses. So this is why you can be like, man, why am I the only one in my city that think like this? Like, why I'm the only one in my state that think like this? That's because, like I said, it was strategically put that way. It was done like that on purpose because they know that when you are able to galvanize a whole demographic of people and they're thinking on the same frequency, you can reverse the polarity of all this in one day. So they got to keep everybody scattered around.
Right.
But through chaos and afflictions, a lot of us is going to end up coming together. You know what I'm saying? They already know that.
What why do you think when we hear about light workers, when we hear the word light workers and we think about some of the melanated light workers throughout history, and we'll even say Jesus, say Martin Luther King, let's say Malcolm X, you know, and the list goes on. We could talk about Elijah Muhammad. A lot of people, violence is often associated with them. So a lot of people will wonder, well, if they're light work and they have all this light, how can you kill something that's so powerful? Why would something so powerful be so easily be able to be killed so easily? What's your thoughts on the history of light workers and them ending in their life ending in a violent way, BDELL?
It's a form of sacrificing yourself. You came to this planet, you was incarnated, and you completed the mission. But the mission in itself comes with many different negative aspects, unfortunately. So if you come back to this planet, you speaking against the government and you creating an autonomous civilization that's, you know, where you trying to keep the government out, you know what I'm saying? This is where they can lock you up like Dr. Malachi York, and they can kill you like, you know, they can poison you like they did Noble Ali. They can do many different things, but at the end of the day, you completed your soul contract. You did what you came to this planet to do. So that doesn't, just because, you know, something bad happened to those people or whatever, doesn't mean that they're not, you know, like chosen ones or whatever. Because they already completed the mission, because, you know, they were basically the predecessors of everything that's taking place right now. When you're talking about people bringing this knowledge all over, you know, social media and stuff like that, that's where it all started. So we're actually a branch of who they are.
Now, so because you said that, my next question would be, a lot of people think if your life doesn't end similar to these light workers in a violent way, or you go to jail or you get locked up, that means you are not a light worker. So people often wait. If he's real, if BDELL is real, he gonna get locked up. If he's real, he gonna get killed. And if it don't happen, BDELL, you wasn't real because the government didn't come after you.
Right.
So talk to me about the light workers who don't get touched by the government and people thinking they're not real because they didn't get touched by the government.
It's some people I really think they can't. This is just my opinion.
Yes.
It's some people I really don't think that they can't do nothing to. They can't do nothing. I don't think they can do nothing to nobody like Dr. Phil Valentine. They can't do nothing to nobody like Rod Hayes. It's kind of like, because they know that the 24,000 year purification period, this is the last reincarnation cycle. So it's certain things that they cannot do right now. So it's a lot of stuff, because it's a lot of stuff they was able to manipulate timelines. They you know what I'm saying, they will open up warm portals or whatever to prolong this this Piscean energy that's subjugated humanity under theocracy and imperialism. Some of the stuff like that they did back then, they can't do that no more, because we enter in a golden age.
Right.
But you got some people, you know, if they actually did something, and they did put themselves in a position to where they can get killed or end up going to jail, you know what I'm saying? You got to take that on the chin, you know. But it's just some people, you know, that they just really can't touch like that. You know, that's just my opinion.
Indeed. Yeah. This is a good one, y'all. How old, in terms of planet Earth, BDELL, how old would you say planet Earth is in comparison to, you know, the universe and the other planets? Is Earth one of the younger, or is Earth an old planet? Because there's so much attention, it appears, from so many entities all over on with us here on Earth.
Earth is actually, I think it's an old planet. Project Blue Rock is when you had the Anunnaki or the Netzeru. They came to this planet for experimentation purposes. So this planet was really like a vacation spot and a hub for resources. So according to the publications of Dr. Malachi Z. York, the planet is 76 trillion years old, which is basically an anagram flip for the planet was created in 7 days, and the 6th day he rested, according to when you're talking about the book of Genesis and things of that nature. So that is symbolic to a trillion years, according to Dr. Malachi Z. York's publications. So I actually, believe that.
Indeed.
The reason I believe that, though, is because time here is different in the higher dimensions, because when light breaks into a dimension, it reverses the polarity of time. So one day on planet Earth, it might be a trillion years in the 19th galaxy.
And that's just one day down here.
Yep.
Wow. All right, let's get to it. Let me get a couple of questions from y'all. I had to get some questions out, but I seen y'all in the chat. Give me some questions from my brother BDELL. I know this is a powerful one right here, y'all. I know y'all happy with this one. Give me some questions from the chat from my brother BDELL. In the meantime, while you get those questions, check out the website, y'all, blackmagicuniversity.com. I got the Blueprint for God Power 2 up there, as well as other workshops as well. Another thing, Rod Hayes will be on my Patreon tomorrow. We're going to talk about what's going on in the Middle East, stuff that we're not going to say on YouTube. We're going to be a little more free to say it on there tomorrow, so y'all can look out for that. It should be up there by tomorrow night. Stay tuned for that. And one more announcement. Tomorrow, I will have Aquarius Maximus will be live on YouTube with me tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. So stay tuned for that. Also, let's get some Q&A from y'all. Very interesting show. I know y'all got some good questions for the brother. Okay, let's ask this. We about to end the year out. BDELL, they want to know what's your 2024 predictions, my brother.
Well, you're gonna have a second wave of Pluto in Aquarius. And it's Pluto's gonna be in Aquarius all the way up until the year 2049. So there's a lot of things that can be taking place, because that's basically a representation of regeneration and revitalization. And I told you, I don't think I told you on the show, but on April 8th, 2024, you're gonna have a solar eclipse, and that solar eclipse goes through seven cities called Salem, which is basically the suffix of the word Jerusalem. So America's actually the real Holy Land, opposed to what they're saying over in the land of Canaan. Let's just say it like that.
Indeed. This is a good one here. I know a lot of light workers. They're worried about how to maintain wealth. This brother wants to know what is the best approach towards maintaining wealth and being a light worker.
What is it? Okay. The best way, everything's all about discipline. If you don't have no discipline, you don't have anything. But the discipline in itself is operating at 0 point energy, to where you follow the path of the middle way. So when you follow the path of the middle way, that means that you're not subjected to external stimulation around you. You don't feel like you have to go buy this or you have to buy that, because you know that everything's internal. So that puts you in alignment to where you're basically reaping the benefits of mastery. You master everything in your lower nature that superseding your nature.
Next question. How does karma deal with light workers?
Karma is one of those things where, like, when you're a light worker, like I said, you already subjected to a certain mission on this planet. So if you do something, you already know better. You know what I'm saying? So that means that the karma is going to come back 10 times harder. So it's kind of like a person who, a light worker. We all know, we understand that the dietary system of the westernized world, you shouldn't be eating pork or nothing like that. So if you out here eating, pork steaks or whatever, you might, reap the negative benefits on the back end because of that. You might, get, heart attack, arteries clogged up and things of that nature. So there's karma when you're dealing with certain things, when you already know certain things is actually bad for you.
Indeed. I like The sister right here, Gwendolyn, said, "Passion is your soul." Woo!
Yep.
I hear you. Passion is your soul. I hear that, Queen. All right. It was. Let me see. We got a lot of one. We got a lot of questions in here. There was one. Give me a second. All right, let me just ask this. Could you explain how we are traveling through different galaxies, BDELL?
The best way I can explain it is how we're traveling through, but it's kind of a dead end question because I have my speculation when it comes to space in itself. I don't know if we're living on a flat plane. I don't know if we're living on a globe, an actual circular globe. I don't know if we're in a cube type of planet. It's one of those things where it's kind of it's all speculation. So I can't really give a genuine perspective on that question because we might be stationary.
Indeed. Anunnaki God 979 wants to know. That's a his name. Anunnaki God 979 Sirius X. Wow, what a day! What a day, brother! What a day! Well, this individual wants to know: do light workers see mirror numbers?
Well, elaborate on mirror numbers as far as like seven set, like
Yeah.
101.
I'm assuming that's what he means, like angel numbers. Elaborate on that. Um, elaborate on that, and I guess we'll come back to that question. Let's get to the next one. Kiori wants to know: can you be chosen to be a left-hand path magician?
Most definitely. It depends on what type of magic you are you using it for, to revitalize, and help people, or are you using it for something, it just, matters what your energy, what type of energy that you got behind, whether it's positive or negative. But you can still be chosen and have left hand path be a left hand path magician.
Mm-hmm. Goddess Scorpion wants to know: can you have more than one purpose, BDELL?
I'm gonna tell you, the reason I'm gonna tell you no is because the Western world, the three-dimensional world that we live in, a lot of people don't even tap into their purpose because they gave us the illusion of choices. So, like I said, some people they might be so fixated, like my purpose is to be a cook or my purpose is to do that. Maybe your purpose was to just be a healer and that's it, to where you can master that. That's why you hear the term a jack of all trades and a master of none. They might not know how to do everything, but they haven't mastered nothing. So you really have just one purpose. So until you master that purpose, that's when you can probably graduate into something else.
Next question, BDELL. Can a child not born to you be your cosmic child?
Yes, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything is, like I said, you have a lot of us have, just based on bloodlines or whatever, just because, you might have died in this lifetime, but you might not even, be connected to a certain bloodline. You might just, come back and be a stranger to that person, but that person might still be your cosmic child or whatever. Because like I said, this three-dimensional illusion that we live in is all an illusion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think this is similar to another question we had. Destiny wants to know: if you feel you are a light worker or healer and you don't know where to start, what would you recommend, BDELL?
I start with doing shadow work because I tell people all the time, you shouldn't tap into, try to tap into metaphysics. You got to go through a process of self-realization. You got to deal with, certain things that's haunting your bloodline, certain things that's, certain skeletons in the closet that you try to clean out or whatever. You got to deal with that before you tap into that energy, because when you get subjected to information, you know what I'm saying, it can sometimes be detrimental to you. So deal, when you're on the path of a light worker, go through that path of self-realization and do your shadow work. And then tap into the energy to where you're able to seek knowledge.
Mm-hmm. I got a question for you, BDELL. So because of that question she asked, this is something I had on my mind years ago, and I get these questions and I forget them, and then they may pop back up years later. When we because we're trying to figure out what are we passionate about, like how do we know? What we do know in this realm is that say I like a sister, right, BDELL, and I'm attracted to her. I know I know, like, I may get a certain sensation. My dick may get hard. Things will happen with my body, like I'll get turned on and I'll be like, damn, like, and I'm saying this if I was single. This is, I'm a happily, I'm in a relationship now, so I gotta say that.
Right.
But if you single out there and you see something you like, a girl with a big ass, because your organs is telling you, your sexual organs is telling you, yeah, I like that, I like her. What I want to ask you is that the same way we get that signal from our sexual organs, when it comes to our passion, is goosebumps a sign from our soul that, oh yeah, that's what you're supposed to do? So say somebody reads a book and they're reading a book about cooking and they get goosebumps from reading a book. Is that a sign from your soul, like, nigga, this is you right here? Just like your dick is telling you, I like her. Is the goosebumps the same? Like, nigga, this is you. Is that what goosebumps is, BDELL, when we get them?
Yeah, it's kind of like the epikinetic body trying to merge in with the Zohar body.
You gotta explain that one. You gotta explain that one.
So, like, your epikinetic body is just basically when you read certain things, when you come across certain things, it activates genetical memory that's connected to your codons and your bloodline. So your Zohar body in itself is basically your higher self, which is the oversoul, which is your body in an etheric state. So that basically, when that happens, that energy in itself has an orgone energy. It can basically manipulate certain things. You know what I'm saying? It has a certain energy and a vibration, when it comes to that. So it might activate something within you when you come across a certain book, when you come across a certain monolithic structure, or you come across certain information and you get goosebumps. That's your oversoul connecting with your epikinetic body, telling you, hey man, you need to tap into this. You need to get at this right now.
Very interesting. Wow. All right, let me get back to your questions. We're gonna get to a couple of more, then we're gonna get out of here. Let's see. Somebody wants to know, can certain souls only reincarnate to certain DNA of a person? Does DNA matter in the spiritual world?
Yes, it does. I think it was, they used to do back in the ancient times. They used to do I forgot what it was called. They used to but I know that they used to do with reincarnation. Yeah, you can reincarnate back into a certain DNA structure of a person. That, because DNA definitely matters in spirituality. So, like I said, like when it comes to like DNA and us being spiritually connected to this planet or whatever, that's a real thing, because our codons are actually acclimated to this geographical landmass. So spirituality and genetics and DNA actually, they work in symbiotic connection. But you definitely can reincarnate, because like I said, that person in that family may not have, reaped the benefits of doing their purpose or their mission. So it's kind of like a substitute. You know what I'm saying? Another person comes in the game and they basically fulfill that contract, basically.
Okay. Let's get to the next one. Miss Neek wants to know, what advice would you give a chosen one who is an empath that procreated with a man with narcissistic tendencies and the child was born out of a trauma bond?
See, that's the thing though. The great majority of, chosen ones were born out of a trauma bond. We were born in, families that that face many different afflictions and shackled the bloodline in itself. So the best way to do it is, revitalize everything. You got to, go through a process. Like I said, everything starts with self-realization. You got to go do that shadow work. You got to go through that shadow work and basically dismantle everything that's basically embarking, you know, that child.
Indeed. You know, it almost seems like sometimes, BDELL, people who are born into trauma want wealth and riches, and people who are born with wealth and riches, sometimes it seems like they want to experience trauma.
Mm.
So it's kind of weird.
Mhm.
Like you know, the
Because they get
people
bored. It's kind of
yeah,
like best way I can explain it. It's kind of like that one is like the kid that grew up with everything. He grew up with a nice family. His family, his parents were together, and then he want to be a street dude. It's the same
right.
thing.
Same thing. Yeah, yeah. So like we must know this on a higher plane, and we like, nah, I need something a little more challenging. I guess we want to be challenged from another realm, huh? That's why we choose certain situations that we're born in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Something because like I said, it's kind of like it's basically, you know, you already know you can hit, you know, 145 plays. You just add more resistance. You know what I'm saying? It's just to, you know, to reap the benefits of, you know, trying to put yourself through many different levels in order to get yourself to a next level.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Let's get to another question. Uh with this being said, the last cycle, what happens in the event that we don't fully complete our mission?
Mm. I can't really say. I can't really say because everything is already pre-encoded. Everything's already written in the stars. So
Right.
everything that's supposed to happen is going to happen.
Right. Indeed. So if you had a mission to complete, you will complete it.
Basically. But even if you don't think you completed it, you know, some people, like I said, some people don't even think they're good enough, or they don't even think that they don't have a purpose because they don't have a voice or a platform. But like I said, you might do it on a micro level, which is a good thing. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not being compromised by, you know, outside forces or whatever. So just because you don't have, you know, notoriety or recognition for what you do, you know what I'm saying? You might be feeding the homeless and stuff like that, you know, every day, but you don't get recognition for it. That doesn't mean that you didn't fulfill your and complete your mission before the cycle runs out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, okay. Hmm. Yeah, so many questions in the chat. Um, Let me ask this one. So, how long does it take for a soul to reincarnate from prior death to new life, BDELL?
I'm not sure how long that takes. But I know that, like I said, a soul is it dwells on this planet for it takes 19 days for a soul to enter the body of a baby.
Mm-hmm.
That I think I kind of answered the same question earlier when they was answering questions.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's see. Somebody he really wants to know the answer to this question. How do you start shadow work? Please elaborate with 20 question marks. All
Okay,
right.
best way, like I said, like if you're dealing with a food addiction, you're dealing with porn addiction, you're dealing with an addiction that basically uh, that takes you away from your true nature. You got to develop a certain energy and a certain form of discipline to where you can master yourself to where you don't have to subjugate yourself to those lower forms. So once you deal with your shadow work, as far as like you cleaning up yourself mentally, spiritually, vibrationally, cleaning up your family, cleaning up some of the things that subjugated them. That's how you tap into your shadow work. You got to heal.
Mhm.
Everything starts with healing. You can't just jump into information without healing. You know what I'm saying? Then you become a toxic teacher and you just do all types of stuff, you know? So it's one of those things where you got to heal. Everything starts with healing first.
Next question. Can you give some insight on ascensions? I think they mean to say symptoms. They said systems, but I think they mean symptoms.
Yeah. The ascension symptoms is connected to the heartbeat of the planet Earth with it, which is the Schumann resonance. So that Schumann resonance is not a coincidence that it's the same color spectrum as the green etheric energy that's connected to the Sufi order of the Sons of Green Light, because the soul is actually green. So that energy is not a coincidence that color spectrum is like in alignment. So every time you have a Schumann resonance spike, that creates an influx of headaches, body aches, and things of that nature. That is the body trying to get acclimated to a new atmosphere, because we're going from a three-dimensional atmosphere into an omnicron based atmosphere. Because we live inside of a dome. When you talking about Genesis or whatever, when God created the firmament, who was Yahweh, who was Enlil, who created the firmament that encapsulated us inside of the dome, you got certain cracks in the firmament where you have that spiritual sun outside of the dome, which is the star Polaris, which is the spiritual sun that's giving these activations of Ethereum energy to where we having these body aches and things of that nature. So that's where it's coming from.
Mm. Okay. Oh yeah, I want to ask you, because you said we're going from I think you said from 3 dimension to Omnicron. What's Omnicron?
Omnicron is basically the same. It's the same atmosphere that the great majority of these motherships and these shams or these UFOs have.
Uh-huh.
Omnicron state is when it's able to go in the 4th octave ether. So some of these UFOs and stuff like that, they don't have they can show themselves, but they don't have to take corporeal form at the same time, because it's able to dematerialize in the form of ether. So which is why you have certain clouds and things of that nature who look like UFOs, but from your perception it's a cloud, but it could be a UFO at the same time. So at the same time, that's because they galvanize the energy from outside of the magnetosphere, which is based on the Omnicron based state. That makes sense.
No, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely makes a lot of sense. All right, we're gonna do 2 more questions and we out of here, family. Let's see. Somebody said, would you recommend professional therapy as an approach to shadow work?
I'm not opposed to therapy, but it depends on who's doing the therapy.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really care too much for the westernized concept of what therapy is. If I'm going to go that route, I want somebody who look like me to tell me about me and what I need to revitalize in order to tap into a form of healing. I don't want to hear from somebody else who, grew up in a white picket fence and they've never been through nothing. I don't want to hear nothing what they got going on. So as far as like healing and shadow work, now, like I said, you can get, a few gems, and you can get, knowledge from those people at the same time, but it's not going to resonate, and it's not going to connect as much as it would as if you getting the therapy from somebody who looks like you and been through those same afflictions just like you.
All right. And last question, BDELL. Can you talk about light workers and how we should handle depression?
The best way to handle depression, I told you, your emotions is going to deceive you every time. A person would tell you that the sky is red if the color blue hurts their feelings. So when you get out of a state of emotionalism, you got to use your emotions as a navigation system to deviate on how to get around certain things, to where you're looking at things from a critical level, when you're looking at things from a rational level and a logical level. So, like I said, don't negate your emotions, but you just have to use it as a resource. You got to use it as an alchemical resource, because some people, they so emotional that they demons is able to attach themselves to their energy. You know what I'm saying? You got people who emotionally eat, which is why they overweight. You got people who are emotionally on a sexual level, to where they get out of a relationship and they just want to start messing with everybody. So that's the over emotionalism that's basically subjugated us, because they don't want us to understand the fact that being rational is a lot more proactive than being very emotional. So that's the thing, though. You got to be disciplined, and you can't let your emotions supersede your nature.
Indeed. Very important. Yeah, very important. especially moving forward as men, we definitely have to learn how to control our emotions out here
Facts.
and not get caught up
Mhm.
in all this deception out here, fellas. So yeah, definitely. BDELL, man, it's always a pleasure having you on here, brother.
I appreciate it, man.
Any last thoughts you want to leave the people? Any information you want to give them? Go ahead, my brother.
I got another video dropping pretty soon, and it's basically talking about the end of the corporation and the corporation in itself. Because you had not too long ago, you had the White House was up for sale for $400 million, and then you got the Baffler Declaration exceeded its expiration date on October 31st. So a lot of stuff that's taking place that lets you know that, you know, this demonstrative government, this de facto corporation, has basically exceeded its limits. So I told you about the 1868 Apocryphal Bible, on how 2024 is actually the year 6,000. The 6,000 year verification of the Piscean energy ends in 2024. So that's what, you know, that next video is basically about. So it's basically about us getting our, you know, geographical landmass back. So that's why you got to stay away from people who saying that we came from Africa, and when really we're indigenous to this geographical landmass. Because you go to the 1848 Supreme Court decision, it tells you that the 5 civilized tribes is connected to the Black and brown people who are connected to this land, who are the seeds of Enki. And then you have another thing that's taking place. Don't get caught up into the Snyder Act, because it's another way to take you away from the land. Don't get caught up into the project All Aboard, because they talking about giving indigenous people money to move out their country, a lot of money, like millions of dollars, to move out to other countries. So there's another form of technology that they use with ecclesiastical law to deviate from your sovereign capacity to be connected to this land. So all I'm saying is just be very meticulous and be aware of the technology that's being implemented by the corporation.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely make sure y'all check out this brother's channel. His channel's popping. Crystal is 10 pounds. Shout out to everybody who out there who support the platform. I actually showed y'all some awards earlier. Give a shout out before the internet blew up. There was awards going on. This was the Black Power Award. Shout out to the brother. Forget the brother's name. If somebody in the chat know the brother who put this together, let me know his name. But shout out to the brother who did the Black Power Awards, and shout out to Sonetta for the awards. He put the award ceremony he put together. I actually got two. One, me and Kambada got one for music, and I got one for my YouTube channel. But yeah, I'm very thankful to be awarded for fulfilling my destiny. I see some of you were upset saying that's Matrix stuff. I live a whole different life from y'all. I live by a whole different set of rules, and I move to my own beat. So I'm not even bothered by the foolishness some of y'all say. But I do want to appreciate, and even shout out to YouTube. They be on their bullshit sometime, but I got an award from YouTube as well. Yeah, it feels good to be following your destiny and being rewarded for it at the same time. So just want to thank all of y'all. Some of y'all been following me since Blog Talk Radio, and we putting in a lot of work, and that's why there's young brothers like this brother I have on today, BDELL. This brother's phenomenal with the information. He's a result of all the elders that put in the work. You know, we got to pay it forward. The Dr. Valentines, the Dr. Yorks, the Delbert Blairs, and everybody else who's out there teaching metaphysical occult information. We're carrying on that tradition, pushing it forward. So thank you. And with that being said, BDELL, man, what's going on, man? What you been up to, brother?
Nothing, man. Just trying to, you know, dish out the edification as much as I can to where people are on the same wavelength of information. So,
indeed,
just trying to follow my purpose.
Right. Hey, your channel, BDELL has a lot of interesting videos on his channel. I definitely want y'all to check out his YouTube channel. What's your YouTube channel again, brother?
My YouTube channel is BDELL1014. It's the same nomenclature title at the bottom that you see on the screen.
Yeah.
BDELL1014 on all platforms.
Indeed. And actually, what we're talking about tonight, BDELL is going to do a part 2 on his channel. So definitely stay tuned for that. Important topic. There's a lot going on with behind the scenes right now, as we can see with alien disclosures and them saying they found non-biological humans, and the whole situation with the sun and the heat wave, and people saying there's a different sun. A lot of things going on. One thing that I want to talk to BDELL about tonight that struck an interest to me early in the year when I asked Dr. Valentine and somebody else is the letter X. The letter X has always been, is always, you know how you could feel things. As an empath, I could feel energy. I feel energy from the letter X. When X is mentioned, when I see it, you can feel it has a certain vibration to it. And I want to ask, and we see things like the Nation of Islam with the X.
Mm-hmm.
We see it in mathematics. We see it in the sky with chemtrails. We see it in a lot of different situations where X is used. And we see Elon Musk wanting to rename his company from Twitter to X. We also know, BDELL, that the great solar eclipse is going to form an X over the entire country in 2024. And that's supposed to be a big event that's happening next year. So let's start this conversation out. BDELL, what's the deal?
Well,
even SpaceX, yeah, somebody says space, yes, even SpaceX. What's the deal with this letter X and the vibration and everything that comes behind it, my brother?
Well, there's a delineation in a dualistic principle behind the letter X. So it represents transformation, it represents change. So that change is not only subjected to something that's diabolical that's going to be happening on the planet. There's a restoration and a revitalization process to the people who are actually acclimated to the indigenous land masses of America. So the X that's over the landmass of America, that solar eclipse, that's the return of the ancestral energy. So the X is also connected to the symbology of a matriarchal energy, which is connected to the X chromosome of the woman. So it's the return of the divine feminine energy. Because we know that the Aquarian age is under a golden age, and the golden age is galvanized by a matriarch, and the matriarch is connected to nature. So that's your unification process of the heavens amalgamating with the physical world. So that's the X is also the symbology of the physical world populating with the spiritual world at the same time. So that's where you get your ideology of a new heaven and a new earth.
Right. So whoever uses this symbol gains power from this symbol, like Elon Musk, or let's say DMX. Like, does it matter whether you're on the so-called good side or the so-called bad side? Can you garner energy from this X if you simply use it?
Well, I think the reason why people like Elon Musk uses this symbol, it's another way for the plutocracy to give you. They got to give us the truth, whether it's in a form of entertainment. Okay. If it's in the form of symbolism, or if it's in a movie or whatever, they got to give you, the edification of what's going to be taking place on the planet.
And why is that?
Because it's part of the law. I think it's called the threefold law. So they have to give you the truth, but it's up to you to have the mental and spiritual fortitude in order to galvanize that truth and see it for what it is. Whether they put it in the movie, symbolism, you got to be able to decode that information.
Right. Wow, very, very interesting. So what about in terms of why do you think they when they do the whole chemtrail thing, they usually, because they could use a Y, they could use any, but they usually do X's. You always see the X's in the sky. Why do you think they use that letter, and particularly when it comes to chemtrails?
See, the chemtrails is actually a reverse of frequency. It's a form of inversion because they know that the convergence of the tetrahedron energy that's being activated by the sun, which causes a Schumann resonance spike on the planet, which causes a plasma discharge. So the chemtrails in itself is another way to combat the energy of the divine feminine energy, because these chemtrails is actually the glue to the ley line grid system that basically keeps us away from activating these energies that is being activated by the sun. So it's another way to basically block out these energies that's coming in.
Very, very, very interesting.
Because it's not a coincidence that the word X and hex is basically putting an encryption over the planet.
Say that again. That was deep.
So it's not a coincidence that X and hex are basically kind of like an anagram. So it's like putting encryption over, different certain geographical locations, because it's a fact that there's different energy grids and systems on this planet. So that's another way. When you look at, best way I can explain it is when you look at the Aquarian age symbol, the Aquarius symbol. Those are the cosmic radiation that the God's pouring down on the planet. Like I said, those chemtrails is basically another way to basically block out that energy, because like I said, the divine feminine energy coming in, that is basically the dematerialization of the grid system that's connected to the corporate system of the matrix.
Why do you think, some people say when they refer to cosmic energy, they refer to it as a sexual energy, just like the Kundalini energy. They say it's a creative, sex is creative, it's creative energy. Why do you think they chose, when it comes to porn, to use the XXX when it comes to porn? Do you think that has something to do with the whole creative aspect, or?
Yeah, most definitely, because it's like I said, it's an inversion. Everything they do, kind of like when you look at the color spectrum of a rainbow. When you see the alphabet groups, when it's a reverse of frequency to throw you off and disconnect you from that energy. So when you're looking at a triple X is kind of connected to the numerical spectrum of 666. So 666 is also the symbology, the activation of the carbon body. So there is a diametrical difference between the activation of the carbon body and the dematerialization of the Canaanite beast man that was cursed with leprosy, because these are these energies that's coming in, these cosmic radiations that's coming in, is not meant for them to survive that type of energy, because they don't have the genetical faculties to do so. So that's why it tells you in Revelation that the beast has a 6,000 year dominion over the planet, and that time is up already. So that, like I said, everything, the inception of the planet started with a sun cycle. We're in that sun cycle now. So the beast man and his system was galvanized under a lunar cycle, which is under the Taurus cycle and the Piscean age. So, but when you're talking about the 666, it's a fact that the woman's genetical structure has an orgone energy. And it has an orgone energy, meaning that her sexual energy has to be compatible with her spirituality. So women have the ability to manipulate the weather when they're tapped into a certain frequency. So if you're able to manipulate the weather due to the fact that you're tapped into your sexual energy, you can basically women can open up portals on this planet when they're in sync with their sexual energy and their spiritual energy. So that's why, 66, well, not 666, but
XXXX.
Triple X is basically another way to sexually gratify or sexually pervert the energy of the woman to make her acclimated to a form of sexual gratification, instead of using that energy to galvanize a certain spiritual frequency on the planet.
We talk a lot about, I hear a lot of y'all talk on the platform about, certain things that the woman can do with their energy when they're tapped in, especially with their sexual energy. Do you think that, this might be a little off topic, but do you think that a virgin's energy is more powerful than a woman who has had sex with multiple partners? And that's why some people considered virgins so important back in antiquity?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Because it's one of those things, like your sexual energy is basically the cosmic fuel on how you infiltrate this matrix system. So it's like you need that energy. Your sexual energy is like one of the gateways on how you infiltrate this system. So it's the same thing with a man. If you laying down with multiple women and you basically giving, just you're making your sexual energy accessible to every woman, you're not gonna have the cosmic fuel to basically infiltrate it, because you need that semen retention. Is a thing that you need in order to galvanize that evolution.
Yeah, somebody said the Wakanda Forever. Put the Wakanda Forever. Even DMX will go like that. DMX will go like this. The Wakanda, wherever you see people intuitively just doing symbols with X. So yeah, you said something early about leprosy. and I hear y'all talk a lot about the sun. Um, is there a leprosy outbreak because there's a new sun in town? There's a new sheriff in town. Is that why we're seeing these cases of leprosy break out?
Mhm. Yep. When you go to Revelations 17:17, which is a transliteration of the book of L's Holy and Jill, that was created by Dr. Malachi Z. York, it tells you verbatim that the evil reptilian gave power to the beast, and the beast only has dominion over this planet for a certain amount of a 24,000 verification period. Because when you look at the perception of the equinox, it is broken up into 6,000 year increments. But when you flip it, there's an X over the planet. So, like I said, when you understand the inception of creation, it started with a sun cycle, but the inception of creation is connected to their ending. So the sun cycle is going to be a time of point where they're going to basically lose their power. So that, like I said, that's why when you understand the mythology of Yakub, he tells you that I'm going to create a people that's going to rule over you for 6,000 years. That time is up. So the rule is basically under a construct of a corporate system. When you're talking about politics, religion, when you're talking about the food industry, all those things are being galvanized by those who are cursed with leprosy.
Yes, they making all the connections in the chat. Somebody said X 24, Kobe Bryant. I guess X is the 24th letter. 2 + 4 = 6. You said it was the 6, the 666. So yeah,
I'm gonna tell you something about the letter X also, because it's one of those things where it has it contains when you talking about the return of the ancestral energy, when you're talking about the return of the solar eclipse that's going to happen on April 8th, 2024. Remember, it's 2024. 24 is the end of Kobe Bryant's number. It's the same thing. It's a symmetrical difference. So that X over the planet, like I said, these new energies coming in is going to cause a plasma discharge that activates the 4 elements, which is earth, wind, water, fire. So this is why you have an activation all around the planet, like that boy who jumped into those waters and he got electrocuted out of nowhere. You heard about that?
Well, Lake Lanier, what happened? Tell me what happened with that.
Well, I'm just telling you that, like, the plasma discharge is basically causing ionization all over the planet. It's a form of activation, which is connected to a form of a chronal activation or corona activation, or the crown activation, which is the neuroendocrine transducer. So everything that's connected to carbon, because carbon is the building block of all civilization. So everything that's connected to the energy of nature is being activated. So that's why I said the return of the X solar flares that's amalgamating with the physical world. So that's why they're coming out with a new draconian scandemic when they're talking about the letter X. They're actually acclimating that to what's going on. So it's not a coincidence that they know that these cosmic energies that's coming in is going to cause a form of pestilence. So that's why I'm saying, like, you got leprosy going on. So that's the reason why you see all these things that's taking place.
Wow, very, very, very interesting. Very interesting. So is there anything, what should we, in terms of 2024, because we hear a lot about 2012, we heard about the year 2000. Where does 2024 fall in level of importance with these other years that we have heard about? Do you think it's like, you know, extremely important for the planet? Like how serious should we take what's going down with this eclipse with the exit 2024?
Oh, you should take it important, because, like, when you break down a numerical spectrum of 2024, it's equated to the infinity symbol, which is the number 8. So it's another way to bring you back into a artificial time analysis mechanism. It's a time loop. So because they know that 2025 is going to be the beginning points of the ascension process, because 9 is basically the symbology of evolution. So when you talk about 2025, so that's another way to galvanize the frequencies of the souls on this planet to where they implement a new matrix, you know what I'm saying, to subjugate humanity. So that's why next year there's going to be a lot of psychological operations that's going to be taking place.
You know, X, I just, when you said, when you mentioned the number 8 and the infinity symbol, X actually looks like the infinity symbol, an open infinity symbol. That's some deep shit.
Yeah,
X looks like
hey,
it's open on both ends.
It's like another way to break out of the 8. Because
Yeah,
the
yeah.
8,
So it's like, hold
yep,
on, let me see. It's like that's an X family, right?
uh-huh.
But then if we close it, you know what I'm saying? It looked like, you know, you can almost have an infinity. This,
Man,
but
that's the download right there.
yeah, that's a download family. So what's your thoughts on the infinity symbol in X then?
Well,
This
from my perspective, I think the infinity symbol, a lot of people said it's a representation of infinite energy, but I
right.
think it's connected to the fact that it's bringing you back into a timing loop. It's basically like a another way to where they use cause and effect, like through a Hegelian dialectic principle. They
Mm-hmm.
create circumstances on the planet to bring about a certain agenda. It's like they keep bringing about these psychological operations. So
Mm-hmm.
the X is also the representation of a form of transformation to where you're not acclimated to the energy of the time loop, because the time loop of the matrix system, when you understand the mechanisms of it, uh, everything is derived on a ley line grid system,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that means that when you're born into the matrix, when you're born into sin,
Mm-hmm.
it's not a coincidence that our hands is also connected to the ley line grid system. We born in the matrix system. You're basically encrypted on a certain geographical areas on this planet to where you're not able to reap the benefits of ascension. So now, when you're talking about that X is also the symbology of your so-called great awakening, because they know that these new energies that's coming in has a centripetal or an centrifugal forces that has a tetrahedron energy.
Right. No, I had to
Yep.
wipe the.
Oh, okay.
You know, I'm just you're talking, and I'm like, things is coming to me like a lot of like as far as this X. I remember it was either Rod Hayes or wait, let me get rid of this. Or a couple of people said that in the middle of your hand, because you mentioned your hand. Most of us have a X. Where's
Mm-hmm.
it at? Right, it's
I
right
got
there,
an
family. You see
Yep.
that? Y'all see that, family? So right in the middle of our hand, the majority of us have an X.
Mm-hmm.
There's no getting around this X, bro.
Right. It's
This
everywhere.
and it's in both my hands, dead center in the middle of my hand. There's an X on each palm. And I remember Rod. I forgot what they said about that, but I just thought about that and when you was talking. But BDELL, besides that, and that's just y'all making a lot of connections in the chat.